What if the freedom everyone is searching for is not found in power, money, or independence, but in truth? What if the greatest prison is not made of walls or chains, but of lies we don't even realize we believe? And what if the words Jesus spoke nearly 2,000 years ago still hold the key to a freedom most people today have never experienced? In the Gospel of John, chapter 8, Jesus is speaking to a group of people who had begun to believe in him. These were not open enemies. They were listeners, observers, people curious enough to stay and hear more. And to them, Jesus speaks a powerful invitation. If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. At first glance, this sounds inspiring and hopeful. Freedom, truth, discipleship. These are words people love to hear. But what follows in this conversation reveals that many who heard Jesus did not actually understand what he meant. Because the freedom Jesus was talking about was not political freedom. It was not freedom from government rules, social limitations, or physical oppression. It was something much deeper. It was freedom from sin. The listeners quickly respond with confusion. We are offspring of Abraham and have never been enslaved to anyone. How is it that you say you will become free? Their reaction reveals something important. They are thinking in terms of identity and heritage. Being descendants of Abraham was a great source of pride in Jewish culture. To them, this meant they were already part of God's chosen people. From their perspective, they were already spiritually secure. But Jesus challenges that assumption. Truly, truly, I say to you, everyone who commits sin is a slave to sin. This statement shifts the entire conversation. Jesus is no longer discussing history, nationality, or ancestry. He is addressing the condition of the human heart. According to Jesus, sin is not just a mistake or a bad habit. It is a form of slavery. When a person continues in sin, they become trapped by it. It shapes their desires, influences their choices, and gradually controls their life. And like any slave, they cannot simply declare themselves free. They need someone to set them free. Jesus continues with an illustration that his listeners would understand. The slave does not remain in the house forever. The son remains forever. So if the son sets you free, you will be free indeed. In ancient households, a slave had no permanent claim to the family's inheritance. Their position could change at any time, but a son belonged to the house forever. Jesus is revealing something extraordinary. True freedom does not come from human effort or religious status. It comes from the Son. Only Jesus has the authority to release people from the slavery of sin and bring them into the family of God. But the conversation becomes even more intense. Jesus acknowledges that they are indeed descendants of Abraham. Yet he points out something troubling. You seek to kill me because word finds no place in you. The people listening claim Abraham as their father, but their actions tell a different story. Abraham was known for faith and obedience to God. He welcomed God's messengers. He believed God's promises. Yet here they are, rejecting the one sent by God. Their reaction exposes a deeper problem. It is possible to inherit religious traditions without inheriting genuine faith. Jesus continues by drawing a sharp contrast. I speak of what I have seen with my Father, and you do what you have heard from your father. The crowd responds quickly. Abraham is our father. But Jesus challenges them again. If you were Abraham's children, you would be doing the works Abraham did. In other words, true spiritual heritage is revealed through actions, not just ancestry. Abraham trusted God. Abraham welcomed truth. Abraham responded with faith. Yet these listeners are rejecting the truth standing right in front of them. Instead of receiving his message, they are becoming defensive and hostile. Jesus continues, "But now you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth that I heard from God. This is not what Abraham did." The contrast is clear. Their behavior does not reflect Abraham's faith, so they respond again, this time with a sharper tone. We were not born of sexual immorality. We have one Father, even God. This statement carries a subtle accusation. Some scholars believe they may have been hinting at rumors surrounding Jesus' birth. But Jesus does not respond with anger. Instead, he reveals the deeper truth behind their rejection. If God were your father, you would love me, for I came from God and I am here. This statement goes straight to the heart of the issue. Love for God naturally leads to recognition of the one God has sent. To reject Jesus is to reject the Father who sent him. Jesus explains further, "I came not of my own accord, but he sent me." His mission, his words, and his authority all come from God. Yet the people listening cannot accept this. So Jesus asks a penetrating question, "Why do you not understand what I say?" And then he gives the answer, "It is because you cannot bear to hear my word." The issue is not intellectual confusion, it is spiritual resistance. Sometimes people do not reject truth because it is unclear. They reject it because it challenges the life they want to live. Truth demands change. Truth exposes sin. Truth calls people to humility and repentance. And many people would rather defend their pride than accept transformation. Jesus then makes one of the most startling statements in this entire conversation. "You are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires." This is not an insult thrown out in anger. It is a spiritual diagnosis. Jesus explains that the devil was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. According to Jesus, lies are the devil's native language. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Here, Jesus reveals the deeper battle taking place. This is not simply a disagreement about theology. It is a conflict between truth and deception, between the voice of God and the voice of the enemy. And those who reject truth are aligning themselves with the very source of lies. Jesus then makes a simple yet powerful observation, "But because I tell the truth, you do not believe me." This is a tragic reality of the human condition. Sometimes truth is rejected precisely because it is truth. Lies can be comforting. They can justify behavior, protect pride, and maintain the illusion of control. Truth, on the other hand, exposes what is hidden. It shines light into dark places, and not everyone is ready to face that light. Jesus continues by asking a question that none of his listeners can answer. "Which one of you convicts me of sin?" No one responds, because no one can. Throughout his life, Jesus demonstrated perfect integrity, compassion, and obedience to God. His enemies could accuse him of many things, but they could not prove wrongdoing. Then Jesus says something that cuts to the core of the issue. "If I tell the truth, why do you not believe me?" And the answer lies in what he says next. Whoever is of God hears the words of God. The implication is clear. Those who truly belong to God will recognize and respond to his truth, but those who resist that truth reveal something about where their loyalty truly lies. This conversation in John chapter 8 reveals something incredibly important about freedom. The world often defines freedom as the ability to do whatever we want, but Jesus reveals a different reality. If our desires are controlled by sin, we are not truly free. We are enslaved. Real freedom is not the absence of boundaries, it is the restoration of our relationship with God. When the Son sets someone free, their heart begins to change. Their desires begin to shift. The lies they once believed start to lose their power, and the truth begins to reshape their life. This is why Jesus says that true disciples abide in his word. To abide means to remain, to stay connected, to continue. It is not a one-time moment of belief. It is a daily commitment to live in his truth. As people continue in his word, they begin to understand God's character more deeply. They begin to recognize the difference between truth and deception, and gradually the chains of sin lose their grip. This process of freedom is not always instant, but it is real, and it is powerful. History is filled with stories of people who discovered this freedom through Christ. People trapped in guilt, addiction, bitterness, or despair who found new life when they encountered the truth of Jesus. The same invitation that Jesus offered to those listeners in Jerusalem still stands today. If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples. The path to freedom begins with listening. It continues with believing, and it grows through obedience. The more a person walks in the truth, the more freedom they experience. Because truth is not just information, it is transformation. It changes how we think, how we see ourselves, and how we see God. It frees us from the lies that once defined us. It frees us from the fear that once controlled us. And it leads us into a life shaped by grace, purpose, and hope. But the conversation in John chapter 8 also reminds us of something sobering. Not everyone who hears the truth accepts it. Some people will resist, some will argue, some will reject it completely. But for those who are willing to listen, the truth becomes the doorway to a completely different life. A life where sin no longer has the final word. A life where forgiveness replaces guilt. A life where the Son truly sets people free. And that freedom is not temporary. It is lasting. It is deeper than circumstances. And it reaches all the way into eternity. Thank you for watching this video. If this message helped you understand the powerful words of Jesus about truth and freedom, please like the video, follow the Holy Path Insights channel, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this message today. Your support helps bring these timeless teachings to people around the world.